The big story tonight is the ban on public rallies within Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu Central business districts. We continue to discuss that. My guests tonight are still with me, the police spokesman, Mr. Charles Owino, as well as Mr. Lee Karuri, who is a trustee with the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. We'll continue to talk about the damages and the cost. Mr. Owino, I'd like to ask you this. It was curious that in the acting cabinet secretary's statement today, there was no mention of the car that we saw running over some protesters right in the middle of the street, and the report that the said individual in that vehicle shot at one of the protesters. Can you tell us anything about this? What's the investigation and the progress of that?
Thank you so much. We equally saw what happened. But the clip is quite short, and the police have sought to get the person who was involved in this so that we could be able to get his statement and get to know exactly what happened, because you cannot tell whether he was a malicious person or whether he was a person who had maybe panicked for fear of being attacked. So I think it will be only important after we've gotten him and gotten the part of his story and the story of the persons who are present when this happened.
All right. It seems that you are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt by saying you don't know whether he was malicious or the fear of being attacked. But some would say you're not according the same benefits of the doubt, to the other side in terms of saying that one person is responsible for the damages. I mean, I think the footage is really clear. We had one of our reporters, Jeff Kirui, in fact, speaking to the wife of one of those persons that was run over, saying, he was quite seriously wounded, and he wasn't the only one. I believe there were two. And that clip should be running on your screens, right away. But wasn't it curious that, that wasn't there? Because the people who are being run over, at least what we see on screen, don't seem to be looting.
Yvonne, I'm an officer of the law. I'm not a number. And therefore, in law, you cannot go outrightly accusing even somebody who has killed another. He must be taken to court and the side of his story be heard. I'm not defending anyone in this case. I've simply said that we need to get him so that we get the version of his story, because the clip is not giving us a full action of what happened. And from the story, we'll be able to take an appropriate action that is required. But it will be unfair because apparently, we have Okwaro, even where you sit here, you are here because the security that we provide for. And I think it would be very bad just to form opinions and attack the police. I think it is backward for us to do that.
Okay, so could you tell us then about the progress of investigations? Have you been able to find this person, identify the owner of the vehicle, update us on that progress?
Yes, we have all the information that we need, and there are persons that have been duly taxed to deal with this matter.
Okay, just before we go to Mr. Lee Karuri, the CS said they will prefer charges against Mr. Norman Magai, waiting for a report on damages caused so as to quantify the value of the claims. But what are you going to charge him with exactly? What is he supposed to have done wrong?
I've just told you that when you notify the police and you lead a team of demonstrators, as much as the persons who have committed offenses are responsible, you are equally also responsible if it is established that you intentionally left your people without control to damage people's properties or do wrong things. So I think the department...
Under what part of the law, Mr. Owino?
Okwara.
I'm just seeking clarification,
let me finish. I speak for police. Where I sit, I don't charge people. I don't have the charge sheet. The Director of Criminal Investigations, together with DPP, will come up with appropriate charges, and I think they have been mandated to do that.
Okay, let us listen to Lee Karuri then for a moment, because... well, they're asking business persons and anyone else whose property was damaged to quantify the value of the claims. Charles Njagwa Kanyi, who's the Member of Parliament for Starehe, is putting the damage at 100 million shillings so far and says it could go up to $1 billion. Do you have your own estimate as KEPSA?
Currently, we have been doing the estimate for the losses that have been incurred by the business community, not just in Nairobi, but everywhere the demos are happening. The process is going on as we are speaking. We may not give you an exact figure now, but in just a few days, we'll be able to give you a fairly accurate figure. However, the business community angle in terms of looking at the losses is not just the lost property or stolen property or damaged property, is also the opportunity cost of lost business. See, every time you say that there is going to be demonstration, you keep customers away from those areas, people keep away, and therefore the opportunity to transact business is not there. So even though there could not be too much, say, violence or chaos, but the area is disrupted, for that day, most of the business transactions that will normally happen will not happen. And therefore, you already have indirect losses by virtue of absence of business, which is happening quite a lot. You can imagine now 3 times a week when areas that have been thriving, people keep away. And therefore, that is a lot of money lost because of loss of business. And it's even worse when you talk of daily. So the business community feels that our greater loss is really not more damaged property, vandalized property, is really the opportunity cost of demos that prevent the normal thriving business environment to be there.
Okay, Lee.
It's very, very expensive, and that's what we are trying to work out now.
All right, Lee, will you be taking this to the police? The Cabinet Secretary has invited persons to go to the police station and, you know, with a report on damages and the cost.
Yes, we are compiling our independent report. In the meantime, with the call that all those who have lost property or damaged property make their reports to the police station, yes, we are saying yes, that is very important, because we have to start quantifying losses, and individuals who have lost property need to report.
And who should pay for this damage?
It's not sustainable.
All right, and who should pay for it? The Cabinet Secretary says it should be Norman Magaya. Who do you think should pay for the damage?
Right now, what we feel is that the leadership that has called for the demos, that leadership is responsible for the losses that we are incurring, because they should have kept the discipline and a peaceful environment, not to cause that a loss.
Do you believe the police had any responsibility?
The belief that we have as business.
Do you believe the police had any responsibility to keep businesses and your properties safe and identify the culprits? Do you think they did enough?
We believe that police have a responsibility. One of the things that we have advocated is also restraint. Although the demonstrators have been out in the streets, we have also asked that let them be handled with restraint, let the police handle them so that there are no injuries. So as business also, we are thinking about the lives of the people who are demonstrating, and therefore there's a balance here, because we would like it to be peaceful. But going forward, with the deteriorating level of the demos, we feel that the police should take more action, should protect life and property, because we cannot be able to go through the kind of losses that we foresee.
All right. Lee, my final question to you, I think, is this, because you said in the beginning that you are pleased with the idea of banning rallies within the Central Business District, that they could be taken elsewhere. But wherever it is they'll be taken, I mean, there are businesses of all kinds. I mean, the CBD is certainly the hub of big businesses, maybe established ones. But, you know, wherever they go, they will no doubt encounter a businessman or other, somebody selling bananas by the streets and sweets and candy. So if they can't be in the CBD and you're saying they must be elsewhere, where is that elsewhere that it won't affect somebody else? Are you in essence saying, well, we don't want to be bothered, but let that be somebody else's problem and let them go cause damage for somebody else?
What we have in mind is that, remember, business is not just in the CBDs, but within the Central Business District. That is where a lot of business activity happens. So there's a high concentration in the CBDs, and therefore the losses are greater. But that does not mean that in other locations there'll be no losses. But we are saying that in terms of the hierarchy of priority, let us move out of the CBD, and then we handle the next location as we move on. But it's better that we move where the losses are higher, the danger is more, and where the population density is very high. Because you have seen the amount of harassment and disruption where densities in the CBD are very high is much more. So we are not advocating that there'll be other locations that harassment and disruptive behavior will be encouraged. In fact, if that happens, then it will be better that the demos are stopped altogether. That would be the opinion of business.
Okay, all right. So let's listen to, because it's all about the, different groups that are clashing. A member of parliament for Mathare, I believe, Anthony Oluoch, had something to say about those demos, and I'd like to hear from the police spokesman, Charles Owino, once we listen to what the member of parliament, Anthony Oluoch, said about those demos. Listen.
We need to address the question about the impunity with which the police is allowing the quote-unquote Nairobi business community to interfere with our demonstrations. Yesterday, while we were on Moi Avenue, we were confronted with the so-called business community actually armed with tear gas.
Mr. Owino, your response?
I think it would be prudent. I think the NASA demonstrators are very many. It's my humble request that we don't want propaganda, because I just asked a simple question. There were demonstrations in Homa Bay yesterday and Kisumu and all over the country. In Homa Bay, an officer was beaten thoroughly and his gun snatched and burned. I've asked a question. Were Nairobi business, the so-called Nairobi business community people there? And another thing that I would want to say, the challenge I would want to pose to my brother Oluoch is that you are so many. There is power of arrest by private persons. Please catch one, not two, just catch one, and bring him forward and show us this is not a policeman, this is not a
So now
person.
It would sound like you're shifting responsibility now for the work that the police is supposed to do by asking persons to do it.
I've called
it's just a question, Mr.
Yvonne,
Owino.
I've called what Oluoch has said as propaganda, seeking for sympathy.
Okay.
That these are Nairobi businessmen. I have said that they are a very large number. Just catch one and disapprove us. And I've also told you, we were in an officer.
Why can't you be the one to catch one?
Listen, Yvonne. We have not said they are Nairobi businessmen working with tear gas. We have said Akuna. They are the ones saying there is. So I'm saying pick one and bring. It's a simple logic, Yvonne. And I've also challenged you, Yvonne. Even it is pathetic that you are in media, you don't even feel that a policeman, because you should be telling Kenyans, how do you beat your policeman? How do you snatch his gun? Let's assume that policeman used his gun yesterday and killed 5, 10, 6 people. You'd be running all over the media houses. It's a big shame for our country. Let us be objective. Let us be realistic. I'm challenging the NASA people that you are very many on the street. Catch one and bring him and challenge us that we are protecting them.
All right,
just catch one and bring him.
All right. Can I ask you this?
Yes.
In Mombasa, the demos were largely peaceful. I mean, we didn't see some of the chaos that we've seen in Nairobi and in Kisumu. Why ban the rallies there as well? Or are there cases that you have heard?
You said they were slightly peaceful. You didn't say they were peaceful. I think that is what you said.
Yeah,
you said they were slightly peaceful.
So which is my question then, unless you are telling us that there are some cases of that there. I mean, it's just a comparison. That's my question.
Yvonne, I want to challenge you. We have a duty as police to protect lives and properties of Kenyans. You had Magaya say that you have to notify police under the Public Order Act. And when you notify the police, you have to give them the time, you have to give them the route, and so on and so forth. That means that you don't just have a blanket right. Nobody can just come and do whatever he wants to do at your door and move away because he has a right. There are limitations to these rights. From what has happened, because we had allowed people to demonstrate as provided for in the Constitution. But equally, we have a responsibility to protect Kenyans and protect their properties. I've just heard you say you want to allow other people to lose their properties and not those in town.
That's not what I
Everyone
said, Mr.
has a right. Just a minute.
No,
Everyone has a right.
I mean, Mr. Owino, with all due respect,
Our
you cannot
position...
put words in my mouth. I did not say allow people to loot. I said in Mombasa, it looked fairly more peaceful than it was in the others. Mr. Owino.
You just had a discussion a few minutes ago when you gave an example and saying that if we are not allowing people in town, does it mean that any other person outside town does not deserve? That is what you said, and that is what I'm referring to. I've said that we have decided as the persons who have been given the constitutional mandate to protect lives and properties, that the demonstrators have not behaved in the manner that can be allowed in such a busy place like in town. And we have taken responsibility for that. If this is a democratic country. If somebody feels that what we have decided is wrong, you have a right. You can go to court, let us be challenged, and we look at the way forward. But we have a responsibility to protect all Kenyans and their properties.
All right, Mr. Owino, thanks for that. Mr. Lee Karuri, I give you final comments this evening. Also, just as you close, perhaps, your views on, the general situation in the country with respect to the constant electioneering period we seem to find ourselves in at this point following the Supreme Court ruling and a number of other incidents that have taken place at the courts and the planned election for the 26th. What are your final words now as we close?
Yeah, what we like to see as business community in Kenya, the entire country, and the Kenya Private Sector Alliance represents the entire range of business community, is peace. We would like all the leaders in this country to advocate for peace for all Kenyans, to ensure that we can thrive and to bring down tensions, to bring back civility, and ensure that this country holds together. As far as the time for elections is concerned, we have gone through a very long electioneering period, and we feel that it is very critical and important that elections are held on the 26th of October, and let the Kenyans vote, and after that we are able to settle the matter of elections, and we free all Kenyans, not just the business community, but all Kenyans to go back to their normal lives so that we can be able to continue with the nation building. We cannot afford as a nation to continue with this level of uncertainty. It's going to hurt us, all of us. And this will not spare Jubilee or NASA. It is a problem for all of us. And we believe that it is critical that leaders are responsible for this country as a nation that needs to have a future.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lee Karuri, who is a trustee at the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Many thanks as well to the police spokesman, Mr. Charles Owino. So Lee Karuri saying business community is pleased with the ban on demos within the central business districts in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu. Mr. Charles Owino, the spokesman for the police, saying they will continue to do their job in protecting property and the lives of people, even as this goes on. And we've heard from NASA as well. Mr. Norman Magaya saying they will proceed with that planned meeting at Uhuru Park tomorrow, and saying, scoffing, of course, what the CS Matiang'i is saying, that they will prefer charges against him for the damages that were seen during the demos in the streets this week. That is the big story tonight. Well, we continue to cover that and much more in the news up next with Ben Kitili. From me, it's good night and have a great weekend. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole.